All right. Hello, everybody. This is Devin Hedgepeth. I got Parker Graham right here. The great opportunity to speak with Parker. Usually, as you guys know, I do a lot of written content on Achilles Healed, but I connected with Parker not too long ago, probably early to mid last year, and I got a hold of what he was doing and really thought it would be an awesome opportunity to just have him on and do more of a video format. So, a little bit about Parker before we get started. I actually played with Parker at Oklahoma State. He was there from 2009 to 2013. I was there from 2010 to 2014, but we were both there. I think my sophomore, probably your junior year, was at Parker that we did the Fiesta Bowl crazy
That's
day
right, man.
and win against Andrew Luck and Stanford. So we've been through some very interesting times together. Parker is from Webb City, Missouri, marketing management undergrad, and then MBA graduate at Oklahoma State. And he's now the CEO of the Destiny app. And I thought it was a really cool opportunity to bring Parker on because, as you guys know, I'm very passionate about the idea of resilience, not just the concept of surviving whatever obstacle comes to you, but really making people understand that you can use that very obstacle that was meant to keep you down and leverage it to make you better, to help you to thrive in life. And I saw a lot of ties in what Parker is doing as a CEO, founding the Destiny app, as well as his background, and just a phenomenal story. So thank you for taking the time out of your extremely busy schedule to chat with us today.
Devin, thanks, man. Listen, like I told you beforehand, dude, just love what you're doing. And man, just the perseverance that you had to go through what you went through while we were in school and to see where you're at now, man, it's incredible. So I'm just happy to be here and happy to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Before we get started, I wanted to, I know we still have a decent size Oklahoma State following, so I thought we could start out with just a fun question. What was your favorite either football story or memory playing at Oklahoma State?
Man, we were really, and I could say we because we played together. We were
Yeah.
extremely blessed to be a part of an organization that had so many characters. One, I mean, Coach Gundy is just a character
Yeah.
beyond measure. I mean, that guy, I saw a tweet about some kind of gator feeding thing this morning where they were like, "Oh, Gundy's probably in the background taking the video."
We got a
With
lot
a
of
guy like
personality.
that, yeah, a lot of personalities, but really the two that stand out the most are Coach Glass and Coach Wickline. I mean, Coach Glass, just that guy literally formed not only me, but everybody, right? I mean, he
Hmm.
transformed where we were as 18-year-old kids
Yeah.
to 22, 23-year-old men. And just the grinding, the mental grinding of doing stadiums on a Friday. That's probably the number one memory with Glass is those stadiums, man. You get up at 6 a.m., you're tired, and you have to go
Yep.
run stadiums with all your teammates. And then not only that, you get done, and then you get to go inside of the weight room
Oh
and do
yeah.
squat day, right? So it just never
And your legs are
ends.
shaking after those
Oh
stadiums.
my gosh, man. Yeah, that was probably like the number one thing that I'll never forget. And I honestly look at stairs as just like I can't go up them. It's just a mental block in my
Traumatic.
head now. There's an elevator, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
So that's definitely, I mean, just like the mental fortitude um, of being able to handle anything is really what comes from that guy. And then you have Wickline. And for those of you who don't know Coach Wickline or only hear of the myth of that man,
Right.
um, he was a guy that just mentally, physically, spiritually, all of the things made you grow as a person. And I really have a lot to thank him for in that regard. You know, probably the funniest story I have about that guy, I can't say on air, right? It's it's just he was a character in and of himself. But the one thing that definitely sticks out in my mind is that when I got done at Oklahoma State, because of what I went through with that man, I can go into any boardroom. I can get in front of any investor, whether they're worth millions or billions. And I have no worries because I've been through more psychologically hard circumstances
Right.
going through Oklahoma State and being a pupil of his. is to where I can conquer anything. And I have that mindset about everything that I do, for better or worse. And that directly stems from that, man. And spiritually, I kind of joke about this, but spiritually, I talked to Jesus a lot during my time at Oklahoma State, just getting through those meetings.
I think we all did, yeah.
Yeah, man. So I have a lot to thank for all of those men, in all honesty, and for the institution of that school to provide what they, there's a lot of stuff about, NCAA and is it good or is it bad? But I'll tell you right now, coming from where I came from, there's no way I would have been at a D1 university without that opportunity of playing football. So I have a lot to be thankful for in that regard.
Yeah. It was, I mean, you hit the nail on the head opening up. I mean, we were just so blessed to be able to have that opportunity to play at Oklahoma State with the people that we had, the coaches, the strength coaches, the position coaches, and just the campus in general. Great people there in Stillwater. So talk to me a little bit about your transition out of Oklahoma State. One of the things that I think a lot of people don't understand is the difficulty to transition from being a student athlete just into the real world, right? I know a lot of us go into the professional side of things in our sport, but then obviously whether it's 1 year later or 20 years later, we're going to have to make that transition into something else. So talk to me about how you transitioned from Oklahoma State to where you ended up immediately after that, and then how you got to Destiny.
Yeah, I was kind of one of those fortunate few. I think that I don't know what the stat is now, but it's like 1% of, NCAA football players go play in professional, right? So it's just a huge blessing to get to make that next step. So I got to transition to the NFL. I was an undrafted free agent to the Baltimore Ravens in 2014. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you right now, if Wick my short stint with the Ravens was to how to become a professional and all the things that you do in life. I learned more in 5 months being a part of that organization than I did as far as football and being a professional is concerned my entire life. I've been playing football since I was in second grade, so 8 years old, and I just learned so much in that time frame. But I also learned that there's also, what a lot of people don't talk about is really the dark side of making that transition. You go from college where your scholarship's guaranteed pretty much, they can't get rid of you in most cases unless you do something crazy. In the NFL, every single day you can be cut and be gone and your dream's over. So going through that just constant mental battle of, man, if I make this mistake too many times, I'll be gone.
Yeah.
So you're really just diving into so much knowledge of playbooks and technique and working yourself to the bone just to make it to the next day. So that was just something that really stuck with me in those 5 months. And again, I was fortunate to make it that long. Some guys don't get to make it through, OTAs or minicamp. So I actually made it all the way through. I was the 54th guy on a 53-man roster, which is as close as you can get to making the team without making the team. I tell this story. I show up at the facility on the 53-man cut day, and the 2 guys I rolled in with got cut. So I'm thinking, oh wow, I made it. I think I texted my mom. I texted my wife at the time, and I was like, yeah, I made it, and going to work out. And so I did like an hour-and-a-half workout, had meetings, went to practice, 3.5 hour or 3 hour, 3.5 hour practice. I step foot back in the facility and get cut.
Oh man, they made you go through another practice.
So I went through, and it's Baltimore. It's like 100 degrees and 90% humidity. It was terrible. So I was like, that was just such a sweet parting gift.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
But I could have been I could have been sipping a Mai Tai at a pool by then. But so ended up getting offered practice squad, which was a tremendous honor. Again, it was something that I always wanted to do, was prove to myself that I could play at that level. And I immediately accepted it on the spot. I was like, yeah, absolutely, I want to do this. And I got back to my hotel room, and for the first time in my life, I just sat there and had a conversation kind of with myself, with God, and just felt like my heart was being pulled into something else. And I didn't feel like my heart was in it as much as it had. I kind of had proven that to myself. I went against the number 1 defense for like the last 10 years in the NFL every single day. and just felt like it was time for me to hang it up. So I called my agent, called my coach, and told him, no, I'm going to go back to Joplin or Missouri at that time.
Hmm.
And I was fortunate to get a job very quickly. So I immediately transitioned into really what I felt my next calling was, which was wealth management.
Hmm.
I had witnessed so many crazy stories, Devin, that you and I can share over a beer sometime,
Hmm.
of the financial lifestyle that a lot of those guys live with. And I was inspired at that point to really figure out, man, there's got to be a better way to help guys
Yeah.
and girls, just people in general with their finances.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get into wealth management. I was lucky enough to go work at BOK, which is a publicly traded company, out of a publicly traded bank out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and got on the wealth management group and ended up finding myself. And I say finding myself because I was fortunate. Again, you just I'm sure you could feel this way too. Just along our stories, there's just so many instances of just being blessed. Being very fortunate to be in the situations that we're in. And so I ended up becoming a private wealth advisor, on a team of like 5 guys, where I was the youngest advisor by 15 years,
Wow.
working on a book of business of about $7 billion in assets,
Mm.
as a young man, 24, 25 years old, and helping not only individuals with their money, but very wealthy individuals with their money. So I
Wow.
got a crash course into
Yeah.
investing and trusts and stock portfolios and portfolio now, like all of this stuff within a very short time frame. And in doing so, I got to help the wealthiest of the wealthy in the middle of the country.
Hmm.
My clients ranged from Iowa all the way down to Texas, and I had some folks on the coastlines too. And I was in a suit every day, which is what I thought I wanted to do. This country boy from the middle of nowhere, and getting to wear a suit every day was really cool. But I very quickly realized that helping wealthy people get wealthier just wasn't in my blood. It wasn't what I was called to do. And
Hmm.
so after 5 years, I really started to try to figure out how could I help people, like where I came from, folks that are more blue collar, folks that don't have a trust fund, folks that are literally going to work their whole life and need somebody to help them figure out what to do with their money and figure out what to do with debt, and really help them make that next step. And so when about 2016 rolled around, I started really digging into this idea of what destiny ultimately became.
Awesome. That's yeah, that story is amazing. Just the transition from, and I'm gonna tell people now because I think Parker is being very humble. The transition from being a student athlete and juggling academics and then the grind of being an athlete at a university in general, but especially a D1 university. Um, at the time, I think our offense was, Brandon Whedon. We had Justin Blackman, number one offense in the nation. You were in it, man. You had a lot of stuff going on, and be
Yeah,
able to make that transition to the NFL, obviously make it, performed against number one defense in the NFL the previous years, and then immediately make that transition, find a job, and then just hit the ground running. That was amazing, man. So kudos to you on that. I
I
appreciate you
appreciate
going
it.
through your transition, but so tell us a little bit about Destiny because, and again, Parker's probably going to be a little bit humble here, but I know for a fact that this thing is kind of taking off, man. And I think it's number one, it's helping people, right? And that's one thing that I love. But number two, you're getting a lot of traction with this. So tell me about a little bit more about Destiny. What is it exactly? And then the journey of when you guys launch and kind of the success that you've been seeing.
Absolutely. Well, one, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. So to really tell the story about Destiny, we kind of need to start at the beginning,
Hmm.
and the beginning really starts with my mom. I grew up in what you would call probably lower middle class, kind of like the poverty line.
Hmm.
My mom was a single mom. She, kind of the what you hear a lot about in the news. I mean, she was a mom, 3 kids, worked 2 jobs, just trying to make ends meet. And at the age of 33, decided she wanted to go back to school and become a nurse at 33.
Wow.
I mean, this woman, I'm telling you right now, dude, you want to know why I'm the way I am? A lot of it has to do with her and her resiliency. I mean, she basically said, one day, She wanted to chase her dreams, and she did it. And so she completed her degree in 6 years, or 5 or 6 years, and got it. She got her nursing degree, which is a fantastic deal. She
Wow.
bettered our lives. That allowed her to provide for me specifically just for doing all the AAU basketball tournaments. Having an athlete as a child is not much fun.
Yeah,
It's tough. It's tough for some parents, just because
yeah,
there's just so like shoes, and
that's
for a guy
crazy.
like me, I could grow a size. My foot could grow a size during the basketball season,
Right.
right? So you're buying two shoes now, or two pairs of shoes now. And my brother was a high level athlete. He was a D1 basketball player, so he had all these AAU tournaments, and I had all these AAU tournaments in football and baseball and all this stuff. And to make ends meet, she literally would make magic happen. I mean, we didn't have much money, man, and I never went without food. I never went without stuff. We always had stuff, which just blows my mind. And becoming an advisor, I finally figured out how she did that, and it was through debt. It took my mom over 20 years and over $50,000 to pay
Mm,
off that 6 year education. And again, this 6 year education happened in the 90s.
mm,
So she basically had to struggle her entire life to get me and my brother where we are today. I mean, and my sister too, but just specifically me and my brother, just because we came along in that time frame.
right.
And um, it was because of her story and many like it that I just started to dive into what the actual problem is with debt in this country. And in all honesty, millennials, our age group, are the worst. We have the biggest debt burden. We have the biggest debt burden in the history of this country, in the history. And we're not we're not the baby boomer generation had the most people. We don't have the most people as a sense of just like population size, but we have the most debt by far. The average millennial right now is $43,000 in debt.
Mm,
Um, and it's only growing. We have not only that, you have a consumerism lifestyle where consumerism is the topic of the day, Instagram lifestyle, Facebook, all this stuff. Everybody wants to have more and more and more. The only way to have more and more and more if you don't have more income is to get more debt. And so we basically said, you know what? There's a lot of ways you can build wealth. There's a ton of robo advisors out there that are doing great strategies. There's indexing, there's stocks, there's all this cool stuff. But if you don't handle the debt piece, you're going to be in a situation like my mom, where now she's in her 60s
yeah.
and she's going to struggle. And we have conversations like this all the time. So I can speak to this. Is she's going to struggle to have to work into her 70s
Hmm.
just to provide what she provided for my brother and I. And it shouldn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
So what Destiny is Destiny is a debt management app. We're helping millennials pay off their student loans and their credit card debts as fast as possible through a debt recovery plan in the app. And as of right now, and I can kind of go into what that actually means here
Sure.
in a second, but what that means in dollars for our users right now is that our average user is saving over $3,000 in the first year. Into, and then what I'm really most excited about, almost brings a tear to my eye, is that we're going to save folks this year, 2019. We're already 3 months in. Still, we're going to save folks over $500,000 this year, and we
Wow.
launched March 8th. It
Crazy.
is, and right now I don't even know what today is. My days running together, March 25th. So it's something that I get extremely fired up about. But at the end of the day, we're trying to actually fix the problem of this constant debt cycle. You go to college, you have to get a student loan. You want a car. Most people get a car with an auto loan. And if you want to do anything fun, millennials love to take vacations, and we don't have any savings, as
Yeah.
statistics show us. We get a credit card. We go have fun. We go to Cancun and overseas, and we do all this fun stuff, and we pay for it later. So
Right.
what we're trying to do is create a plan to tell us a little bit about your debt picture and a little bit of information about how much money you make. And our algorithm actually tells you exactly how much to pay towards each debt based on how much income you have and based on what the interest rates look like
Wow.
every single month. At the same time, we're also building an emergency fund in there as well, where you're actually starting to put away money each
That's
month and
awesome.
paying your debts down, to where at the end of the day, if you do have something crazy happen, like your transmission falls out of your car or your hot water heater breaks, that's happened to me. And
Yeah.
luckily I know enough and I watch enough YouTube to be able to figure out how to put a hot water heater back in their house. Some people can't. You're paying $2,500 for a plumber to do it.
Yeah.
So you have to have a certain amount of money set aside, and we help you with that as well. So it's just the symbiotic relationship of trying to get you right out of college, really in your first job, get your debt in check so that you can go make those great investment decisions and you can go live your life the way you want to live your life.
That's awesome, man. So who would the ideal user be for this app? Would it be students or just coming out of college?
Yeah, so the ideal person that we have in most of our user base is around 25, 26 to up to 30-year-olds. And the
Okay.
reason that demographic is important is because, if you're in college, you're not really thinking about and again, this is a generalization of the demographic, you're not really thinking about, how much money you're going to sock away for your future debt, right? You're worried about having fun and going to school and going to classes, and you have a lot more things to worry about, what girl you're going to date, whatever.
Right.
We're really looking for people who are in the workforce, they are working their job, and they're looking at that student loan debt and being like, how am I going to pay this monster off?
Yeah.
Because it is a monster. They talk about, I don't know if you've ever heard of the mantra, the money monster, but the money monster it's on everybody's back, man. I mean, if you look at, we're fortunate that we went to school and we don't have debt, and that's nice. But, we have a user right now who went to Baylor, and she's a teacher. So, not to say anything bad about her, just that, she went and got a degree where she's going to make, $45,000-$50,000 in Texas as a teacher. Yet her tuition cost her around $185,000. And that's just a beast to pay off, And so we talk a lot about how we can take what your lifestyle currently is, wherever you're at, finding you where you're at, and helping you integrate this plan into that lifestyle. There's a lot of debt recovery things out there that say stop what you're doing and immediately like shut off everything and live like a hobo for 15
Right.
years. It's like, no, that's not realistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Not for our generation. We want to experience things. So our whole approach is live your lifestyle. Let us help you integrate into that lifestyle and start fixing these things as slow or as fast as you want to go.
Yeah. That's awesome. One thing that really resonates with me in your story is why you're doing this. And you can really tell you just have a passion for people, and you truly do want to help people. But I also know because of that, there's an even higher amount of stress. You're probably putting an extra amount of pressure on you because not only do I want this thing to succeed, but it's why I want it to succeed. It's because I want to be able to help people. So what I'm interested in is with that level of stress, level of pressure, the knowing that obstacles come up every single day as a founder, as a CEO, what is it like going through that pressure? I mean, how do you kind of use what we learned playing football to be resilient and not only survive certain obstacles, but to help or to use those obstacles to make you better?
Man, there's so much to unpack there. Just as a I'll just kind of talk about like as a CEO, and we can kind of work our way down from there.
Sure.
Because there's just so many things, man. Being an entrepreneur in any world, whether you have a mowing business or whether whether you're 18 have a mowing business or 45 have a mowing business, or you're just starting a tech company or you're just starting a bakery, there's a lot of similarities with just how much stuff happens on a daily basis. I feel like I'm a firefighter most days just because we're trying to put out fires left and right.
Yeah.
While at the same time, I've got to wear 15 hats. I've got to wear like you had mentioned, the first and foremost for us is people. We have three core company values that we cherish here at Destiny. Accountability is one of the biggest ones. It's just like that hard work ethic, like everybody shows up, everybody buys in, and everybody gets to reap the benefits of that. Second one is love. You're going to you're going to be a part of an app or a part of the company, and you're going to feel love from day one. As long as you can identify that you need help, we are going to help you. Nobody has a situation where they can't be helped. I promise you. We have seen everything at this point, and we're a very young company. That's the second one. And the third one is fun. So as a CEO, when you have these three core competencies, I have to not only be able to adjust mid-conversation with individuals, I have to be able to put an investor hat on from one call and then hop on another call and be customer service. I've got to be able to help my tech team, my co-founders, which we can kind of get into here in a second as well, because they are just as big a part of this company, or
Yeah.
if not bigger than I am, just because they built it from scratch. But, having those guys have completely different mindsets, didn't go through football, and trying to figure out how we can work in a symbiotic relationship is another thing that's just extremely difficult. So you've got that is the best word I can use to describe it, and that is a direct correlation from football. In a football game, excuse me for knocking my microphone there. In a football game, you can plan as well as you want to plan. I think that they talk about our offense. Coach Munkin and Coach Ursich used to have like the first 15 plays of the game drawn up. It didn't matter what happened in that game; those 15 plays were drawn up.
Right.
But after that, you got to play by the ball. You got to
Right.
see the situation. You got to be able to make adjustments. You got to be able to dictate from your bank of experiences and make a good call. Could be the wrong call. Could be a good call. I'll tell you right now, we fail just as much as we succeed. While we have these great things and we're telling these great stories, a lot went into those stories. You talk about resiliency. I'll tell you this story. The first year of the company, really not the company, because the company is younger, but as I was in the ideation stage of it, trying to figure out what it was that was in the back of my mind that was nagging at me, I made a decision one day that if there's not enough time in the day to get something accomplished, then I need to start working at night. So as a young person just getting into my job and being an athlete, so I decided to wake up at 5 a.m. and go work out. I went to work at 7:30. I came home, had dinner with my family at about 5:30, and then put my girls to bed at 7:30. And then after that, I was working from 7:30 until 1 o'clock, meetings and talking with people, talking with developers and stuff. And that went on for about a year.
Wow.
Which is something that, man, that right there, you talk about resiliency, that right there was a big hurdle to get over. It was a huge hurdle. And then, we go from that stage, and then we're trying to find investors. My co-founder, Jerry Workman, and I, we went through probably 6 months of trying to find somebody to believe in us, trying to find somebody to share in this vision with us. And it was almost to the point where it's like, dude, we can't get, like, nobody's believing in us, And as a founder, you go through this roller coaster of emotions where it's like, one day you're like, yeah, we're winning, we're perfect, this is awesome. And then the next day it's like, wow, we suck, this is terrible. Why are we doing this?
Right.
And one of the coolest things that we've experienced so far was week one, basically, of the actual company. We left our jobs in September of 2018. We had no money. We had our own savings. No one had believed in us. We were applying to accelerators, companies and programs that try to help companies grow. And in 1 week, 5 days, we were fully funded. We had an offer to join an accelerator here in Kansas City, and we had a banking partner on board that believed in us and invested in us.
Wow.
We had all three things in that first week. And, I don't know where, religious affiliation is with everybody's life that listens to your stuff. But for me, there is not a greater instance of divine intervention, in my opinion, and just being afforded an opportunity than that right there. And when you go through enough of those, you realize that, man, you know what? The good days outweigh the bad, and there is not a single thing in this world I'd rather be doing than trying to impact the people we're trying to impact. Because for us, the system's broken, man. Like, the system is broken, and if we don't get up every day and try to fix it, then what are we really trying to do? And so that's our attitude, and that's what makes it all worth it. And I guarantee you have folks out here that are listening to this that are entrepreneurs in whatever way it may be. Yeah. And just that push in the back of your mind of like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is for the greater good, is what pushes us every single day.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about your team. And I don't know if you want to go person by person or just the team in general, but I'm interested in, how does the idea of being resilient, overcoming things, translate to the team environment? And obviously, we went through football, but I'm interested in maybe what your approach is in helping the team in large overcome certain obstacles.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, those guys. I'll just talk about them for a second
Sure.
because they're just awesome. So Jerry Workman is our CTO,
Hmm.
and him and I actually have known each other for 20 years. We actually grew up together. Same hometown, played football, played sports
Oh,
together.
cool.
He was a big baseball guy. So he's been through a lot of sports specific stuff as well. So that makes it easy.
Yeah.
Joe Krywicki is our lead engineer. Super smart guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of humbling getting to just get ridiculed in the most intelligent way ever every single day. It's a lot of fun. Um, and Joe as well played sports. He actually went to Auburn, so he's got a good football culture in him as well.
Cool.
But their role is really building the app from the coding standpoint. So they're the ones coding it, making it look pretty, making it work, and making it work really well. And so one of the biggest things that I think we had to really get right the first time was openness and really having the ability to talk amongst ourselves and not get feelings hurt, if that makes sense. And I think that directly stems from athletics, if I'm being honest. Like, you either made the block or you didn't.
Yeah.
Devin, you either deflected the ball or you didn't, right? The
Yeah.
guy either caught it or didn't. So that's pretty black and white. And for us, it's very similar. It's like, okay, did we get this thing coded? Yes or no? Did we hit this milestone? Yes or no? And so, and then also the openness. We use so many sports references here. We have a TV that's literally got sports ESPN on it all day long. So, the coaching aspect of it is like, where am I failing as a CEO? Where are you failing as a CTO and a lead engineer? And it's a tripod of just trying to make each other better and coaching the coach. Because eventually we are going to be all coaches. I'm going to have a group under me. Jerry's going to have a group under him, and Joe will as well. And so we have to make sure that the culture and the way that we are approaching problems, the way that we're talking amongst each other is not derogatory, it's not demeaning, but it is constructive and it is allowing us to move forward. And I think
Yeah.
if we can just continue to do what Coach Glass always said, just compounding.
Mhm.
It's literally, hey, what'd you do today? Let's build on top of that and build on top
Yep.
of that and build on top of that. And then pretty soon you look back and it's like, dang, we built a mountain, like this is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that analogy, man. It really is a small steps, and that I actually broke out in my book that I wrote. I mean, a lot of people think that you have to start off hitting the ground and you're already there, right? But you don't. You can start from wherever you are.
Yep.
It's little by little, consistent, day by day. You take a step the next day, and before you know it, you're there. So I think that's a huge part of being resilient. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I appreciate you joining us today. But before we go, is there anything that you wanted to make sure to let my audience know about, whether it's Destiny, your story, or anything else?
Yeah, I mean, really, first off, man, this is great. I love what you're doing. I mean, we talked about this offline, but
Oh,
just what you're providing for people is really impactful. And I could tell you as a CEO, getting to see that stuff on Thursday and just getting a little reminder of like, hey, man,
yeah,
keep pushing,
right.
is always good. What I would say to people, I always kind of leave with two different things. One is kind of like the entrepreneur in me
Hmm.
is, if you have that nagging feeling, if you ever have had that thought of, man, there's just kind of something back there that I just, for whatever reason, I kind of feel compelled to do something, just do it. Just
Yeah.
jump. Because at the end of the day, I would much rather, you know, leave this life knowing that I tried to achieve something than letting that just kind of rest and be 85 years old and never have done it. Right. When you talk to old people, I talk to old people all the time in my previous job, just, because they're the ones with money. And they never talk about the money that they made. They talk about the money that they didn't get a chance to make because of
Mhm.
the jump and the risk they weren't willing to take.
Right.
So if you have that, just do it. And who knows? You could be doing what we're doing, and really impacting. You have no idea what the ripple effect is of what you can personally do, which to me
Hmm.
is one of the coolest things that we get to exercise every single day. And the second thing is just, check us out. I don't know where you're at, and I don't know where you're at financially. I don't know if you have debt. I don't know what you're doing, but if you do, check us out. We literally have turned away no one. Everyone, I don't care what your situation is, we can absolutely help. Oh, and by the way, Devin, I forgot to mention this, but we're actually going to do a promo code
Awesome.
for you guys, which is going to get you a discount in the app. So right now we are
Awesome.
free. Right now, we're free, so you can download it in the app stores, Google, Android or iOS. It's absolutely free, but you do need a promo code as we're building a couple more features. So we're just going to go with Devin, Devin is the promo code.
Nice.
And it'll get you, once the payment system's implemented, it'll get you half off for the year. So just wanted to throw that to you guys. And again, dude, this is awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. I love it.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited to be able to get this out to everybody. I think it'll be, if nothing else, inspirational, right? And then we'll make sure to get this promo code to the audience. So thank you so much. But before we go, where can we find you? Where can we find Destiny? Do we go online? I know the app is through the either the Google or the Apple store, but do we hit you up on Twitter, Instagram, website?
Absolutely. So I'm on, so the company is the _Destiny_ app on Instagram. And then mine is Parker CM Graham on Instagram as well. And then our website, actually, which has a little bit more information on there, is yourdestinyapp.com. And again, we're available on both Android and iOS app stores. Also the iPad, if anybody uses that ever, we're available wherever you can find us.
Perfect. Well, I'll make sure to get that info to the audience. And Parker Graham, everybody. Thanks again, man.
Thanks, Devin.